One, when a student's struggling sometimes, the ChatGPT tool is a great way when they're looking at writing or ideas for presentations to generate those ideas to help inform them or lead them in a certain direction. Another way that it's helpful is sometimes not all kids are eager to ask a question in class, and so it's a resource for them when to inform their own learning. And so it's really how you use it as a tool. It shouldn't replace what you're doing. It should merely support what you're doing.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, everyone. I am Sharon Desmoulin-Kherat, superintendent of Peoria Public Schools. We have about 13,000 students in 27 school buildings, and we're an urban district.
I'm Christine Ackerman. I'm the superintendent of Chappaqua Central School District in Westchester, New York, about 40 miles outside of New York City. We have about 3,500 students and 6 buildings across our K through 12 district.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Piraino, superintendent of the Franklin Regional School District, right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have about 3,600 students in 4 schools.
How is your school district approaching AI tools like ChatGPT?
We do not block any of the AI sites because we recognize that students still have access on their personal devices, even if we blocked it from our district network, right? So it's really interesting when there was this big hoopla about AI and ChatGPT. I tried it myself, and I asked her a question about reading and scientific based research and what she knew. She sent me an impressive write up. She talked about the 5 components of reading: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension. I was pretty impressed. And so, yeah, I'm of the impression that just like cell phones, we have this discussion. I have some board members, they really want to ban them out of the school. I'm thinking the cat is already out of the bag, right? How can we incorporate those? My thinking is, how can it be incorporated into knowledge utilization and getting the kids to a higher level? And that's where we are. So we'll see what happens with it. But for the most part, I think some teachers aren't, using it, but I think some people are slowly still trying to figure out what it's all about and maybe its capabilities. But I've been really impressed with it. And I don't think we should ban it. I think we should work with our students and teach them how to use it. I told you the example, right? I gave you the example about reading and scientifically based reading instruction. It kicked out that great information. It's like, okay, now take that and design something for your community or design something for your school. Here's some data, reading data. Here's the number of second graders who are reading at grade level 3. Based on what you've just gotten from this chat, how can you use that information to improve, that type of instruction? So taking the instruction to a totally different level where it's more relevant and meaningful and not rote. And so it's a shift. And we have to shift. It will force us in the next couple of years to really change the way we're doing what we're doing, which needs to be changed.
So in March, when AI started to explode on the scene, we had a huge superintendent conference day, and our administrative team began the day by creating awareness and exposure and showing all of our teachers throughout the district how to use the tool. And then we had professionals come in and talk about the future of technology within the world, not just in the context of education. And then since that time, we've been using it. So teachers have been using it. Students have been using it. We've had some groups over the summer working on trying to figure out a way to use this in our classrooms. And, part of when you have new technology like this, you have to kind of talk about the impact of this on different systems that you have in place that may not work the same anymore, like grading and assessments and writing assignments, and not necessarily how would AI replace those or be problematic in the context of that, but how can you reshape what you're asking kids to do so that you can use AI as a tool to help support their thinking and instruction. And then, you have to kind of create procedures around that. So there's a level playing field and a common expectation. So that's what we're working on right now, but we're pretty excited about it. We see it as an opportunity to grow and evolve. So that's how we view it as a district. I know not everyone views it in that way, but we certainly do here in ours.
From our standpoint, when we look at what the world our students are going to go into, they're going to be working with and competing with people who have the ability to use AI and tools like ChatGPT. And so from our standpoint is we want to make sure that our students have the ability to use it ethically and ways to use it in a way that really informs their intellect and their human creativity. And it's really focusing on developing those 5 C's in them: that critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity, and citizenship. And part of that is, how do you ethically use a tool, an AI tool, to inform your work, to create resources for you, to help support what you're doing, but not replace your work, and really keep it authentic.
Now, are there any positive use cases that you've heard from students or even teachers around how they're using ChatGPT?
That's a piece that I'm going to explore. I know some of them are using it, but I need to find out more. I have a meeting with a group of teachers, so that's a piece that I will explore further, but it's still relatively new. And so I'm sure they're using it, but I have not been able to focus specifically on Chat GPT and how it's being utilized. I suspect specifically in the high schools.
Well, first of all, it's a huge time save for teachers and for administrators because it gives you framework for language that helps like craft different communications, and it also can give you structures around lesson planning that perhaps you never thought of before. And so for us, we feel like, at least for me, I feel like it's a way for me to communicate and to organize my thinking with speed that didn't exist before, right? So it's saving me a lot of time. But there's been a lot of examples of how kids in classrooms have used ChatGPT to kind of analyze the writing within that, use it to kind of reshape their thinking, analyze different pieces based on that. Right now, I feel like, and this could change over time, but there's a certain perspective that ChatGPT comes from. And so that lends itself to a level of analysis, which I think is really important, particularly in our high school classes. So we really encouraged our teachers to use it with our kids, and our kids know about it. I feel like while it was just coming on the scene towards the end of the spring semester, it's definitely here in fall. So I know that it'll be embedded in our instructional design throughout the district. And I look forward to seeing how our teachers use it in a very creative way with our kids.
I've actually heard a couple different things. One, when a student's struggling sometimes, the ChatGPT tool is a great way when they're looking at writing or ideas for presentations to generate those ideas to help inform them or lead them in a certain direction. Another way that it's helpful is sometimes not all kids are eager to ask a question in class. And so it's a resource for them to inform their own learning. And so it's really how you use it as a tool. It shouldn't replace what you're doing. It should merely support what you're doing. And when our students go out into the world, they're going to have to be able to use these types of tools to promote their future success.
With regards to ChatGPT, are you changing any of your techniques for grading students and the types of assignments being used in the classroom?
So teachers know their students as it relates to grading. If a student who historically takes a while to write a paper and typically has, a few spelling and grammar errors in this paper, and then suddenly it turns out to be an essay with quickly that they wrote with no errors, they'll probably have a conversation with that student. It's again, there's a big thing about knowing your kids, knowing where they are, knowing their abilities, and working with them.
Well, we definitely have to think about what we assign our kids, but I feel like, and I have shared this before with our faculty, that if we're concerned about students using ChatGPT as a way to manipulate our assessment system, we're not asking them the right questions. We're not asking them to perform at a level of proficiency around the content in a way that's meaningful. And so we talk about that a lot and what that means. And so we just have to reshape how we think about what we ask our kids to do to demonstrate their understanding of knowledge, which is great. I think this is a great problem for us to have. And our teachers, and I feel like all teachers work really hard. And this just provides a different opportunity for us to level up our curriculum that I think we should all be excited about.
Well, I think when you look at grading, it's how we assess students. And grades mean something for students when they're applying for college and those types of things. But really, when we look at grading, it should be about assessing original learning and student knowledge. And so it's really looking at what types of assignments we're giving and how we're assessing those assignments. And those are really important conversations that we as a school community, if you look at it at ChatGPT, it's new. And so it's something that as we've evolved in terms of, there was a time when we didn't use calculators at all, to now we're using them. We're going to have to work with our staff to come up with innovative and creative ways to address grading and fairness in grading. But I really believe that our educators have that creativity and that power to come together and figure out ways to assess students in a way that truly measures what they have to know, understand, to be able to do to be successful in the world, as well as demonstrate their mastery of content.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.